The Untold Truth of Harrison Ford. There aren't many actors in the history of cinema as influential or popular as Harrison Ford. Throughout his decades-long career, Ford has appeared in some of the biggest franchises and blockbusters of all time, including the original Star Wars trilogy, Blade Runner, and its sequel, Blade Runner 2049, thrillers like The Fugitive and Air Force One, a handful of Jack Ryan films that include Patriot games and A Clear and Present Danger, and of course, the Indiana Jones film series playing the beloved title character. A rugged, taciturn presence and a dry sense of humor and an excess of talent, Ford has long been one of Hollywood's most instantly recognizable faces, but he earned his fame the hard way, rising from obscurity as a carpenter to become one of the most famous actors of all time. From his humble beginnings to his dreams for Han Solo and his personal scandals, here's the untold truth of Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford's first roles were hard to come by. You might think that Harrison Ford, with his undeniable good looks and talent, would have become an instant sensation, but in reality, it took a while for this future star to get started. After growing up in Chicago and spending time as a Boy Scout, Ford attended Ripon College in Wisconsin, and though he dropped out before graduation, he took his first acting class there, which helped him overcome his naturally shy tendencies. Despite his newfound love for performance, Ford had a pretty slow start, picking up background roles here and there, but even those didn't go very well. After his first uncredited screen appearance in 1966, Dead Heat on a Merry-Go-Round as a bellboy, a Columbia producer criticized Ford for underperforming, telling him that when movie stars like Tony Curtis played bellboys, they did so like movie stars. Ford continued to snag small roles here and there, but simply couldn't book a big breakout part. The one director did have his back early on. French director Jacques Demy lobbied for Ford to play the leading role in his 1969 film Model Shop, but the studio wanted a more recognizable name, and Demy was overruled. How Harrison Ford finally landed Star Wars. After his first credited screen role in the 1967's A Time for Killing, in which he was billed as Harrison J. Ford to avoid confusion with a silent film actor named Harrison Ford. Despite the fact that the J doesn't stand for anything, Ford got the break of a lifetime with a little help from Fred Roos, a casting director and producer. After appearing in the smash 1973 hit American Graffiti, directed by George Lucas, a filmmaker audiences around the world would soon know by name, Ford couldn't afford to survive on his acting wages alone and resumed work as a carpenter to support his family. Roos, though, had other ideas. Despite the fact that Lucas didn't want anyone from American Graffiti to audition for Star Wars, Roos, who was hoping Lucas might let Ford read for the film, hired him to do some carpentry work on the lot where auditions were being held, and while he was building a door, Ford ran into Lucas. As Roos later put it, the entire encounter was serendipitous. Harrison Ford from casting assistant to star. Fred Roos may have gotten Harrison Ford into the audition room, but apparently Ford's Star Wars casting was still very much up in the air. Smartly, Roos suggested that Ford read alongside actors who were already auditioning in the hopes that he'll catch Lucas's attention. After reading with over 100 actors hoping to score a role in this new film, Lucas realized that Ford was a perfect fit for the role. In an interview with Leonard Maltin, the director recalled, "I said, we're short one Han Solo. Harrison, you want to do this? You want to stand in, read some parts against these other parts so we can get through this thing?" And he said, yeah. And he started reading, and he read them better than anyone else did. Naturally, Ford was absurdly casual about accepting the role that would change the trajectory of his entire life and career. They asked me if I wanted to do it, and I said, sure, why not? How Harrison Ford wanted Han Solo's story to end. Once Harrison Ford booked the role of Han Solo, we all know what happened next. Alongside fellow Star Wars stars Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill, Leia Organa, and eventual Jedi Master Luke Skywalker, respectively, he was catapulted to instant fame and acclaim. However, Ford was hoping that Han would have a much more dramatic ending in the original trilogy's final installment, 1983's Return of the Jedi. As Ford told Conan O'Brien, he wanted Han to die at the end of the third movie. I thought the best utility of the character would be for him to sacrifice himself to a high ideal and give a little bottom, a little gravitas to the Enterprise. Not that there wasn't some already, but I just wanted in on some part of it. That was at the third occasion of filming the original 3. Lucas vetoed his wishes, but Ford got what he wanted years later. Ford reprised his role as Han Solo in 2015's The Force Awakens, the first film of the Star Wars sequel trilogy, only to be killed by his own son, Ben Solo, also known as Kylo Ren, Adam Driver. Ultimately, Ford felt that his arc was complete, saying, "I think it's a fitting use of the character. I've been arguing for Han Solo to die for about 30 years, not because I was tired of him or because he's boring, but his sacrifice for the other characters would lend gravitas and emotional weight." Harrison Ford wasn't their first choice for Indiana Jones. After 4 amazing films packed full of thrilling adventures and action, it seems impossible to imagine anyone but Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones, the whip-wielding, fedora-wearing archaeologist who always manages to save the day. So it might surprise you to learn that Ford wasn't the first choice for another role that would define his career. Apparently, when Ford was floated as a possible contender to play Indy in 1981's Raiders of the Lost Ark, one of the film's writers spoke up. George Lucas, who was still working with Ford on the Star Wars trilogy, was worried that casting Ford would set an unintentional standard. According to a behind-the-scenes featurette from Raiders, Lucas told director Steven Spielberg, "Oh, Steven, he's been in 2 of my movies. I don't want him to be my Bobby De Niro," in reference to actor-director pairings like Martin Scorsese and Robert De Niro. Lucas and Spielberg both hoped that Tom Selleck would play Indiana Jones, but since the actor was already committed to Magnum P.I., they went with Ford instead. Now it seems crazy to envision a world without Ford as Indy, much less one where Selleck played him instead. Lucas agrees. In a different bonus feature, he admitted he was perfect for the part. "I can't imagine anybody else in that part."